Social media can be rough for creators. Wherever you look, you see people doing way better than you, achieving vast success in little time. And I challenge anyone that's exposing themselves to that to not feel the overwhelming sense of being behind and not where you want to be. Why is it so easy for them? How do they do it so quickly, but I can't? After all, if I scroll tutorials on YouTube, it shows just how easy everything is and the big results you can achieve in no time. Experience this frustration long enough and you'll probably start to get the feeling that you are the problem. I know I did. In 2015, I left my full-time job to go all in on my online business. And it sounds like an amazing achievement, right? One I'm sure that many of you are working towards too. But it was not the perfect image of success by any means. By that time, I did have the makings of a business. I was creating content teaching motorcycle track riding techniques, selling a pretty simple digital product. I was making some money, but nowhere near replacing a job yet. But with radical ideas about going all in, burning the boats and giving myself more time, I thought success would be inevitable. But it didn't work out like that. For the next 3 years, I struggled to make ends meet, and over those years, my belief in myself and my excitement and confidence in what I could achieve slowly changed into survival mode. Not a nice place to work from. I knew I could do more though, because for those 3 years, I was exclusively creating written articles, because Google search was still a big thing for business back then. And I had a huge fear of getting on camera and starting a YouTube channel, even though I knew it was the right thing to do. But out of desperation, moving into 2018, I decided to take the leap and start a YouTube channel with the goal of generating more traffic and more sales. Coupled with a new strategy to sell my product, I did see a boost in sales and a glimpse that things could be much better. But once again, that's not what happened. Yes, things did improve, the channel did start getting some traction, and I was selling more products. But 2 years later, I was still nowhere near the lofty goals I'd set for myself when I walked out of my job 5 years earlier, and I was only just making a livable wage at that point. I felt I'd put in so much work creating content, building systems, creating products, running campaigns, doing all of the things you're supposed to do to grow an online business. But compared to the goals I'd set for myself, I had very little to show for it. By 2020, my belief in myself and that I could actually do this was at an all-time low, and the lofty dreams of making all the money seemed like a distant memory. And I was just left with this overwhelming feeling that maybe I'm the problem and I'm just not cut out for this. So much so that I actually walked away from the business to try other things, with the belief that all of the skills I'd learned over the years, which were a lot, would be more valuable to other people. So, cue the Rocky training montage and running up the steps to glory, right? No. Definitely not. We'll get to what happened next, but if I had to guess, I'd say my journey so far is starting to resonate. Maybe you've been at this a while and you're starting to doubt yourself, maybe thinking you're the problem while wondering why you haven't got there yet. But here's the thing. My story, our story, is the common one. Not the fast-track dream we're often sold, or the one we start to believe when we spend too much time consuming the successes of others. But it doesn't feel like that, and there's a couple of big reasons why. The first comes from our natural tendency to compare ourselves to others, which is something that can be traced right back to our biological roots, where comparing ourselves to others kept us alive and thriving within a tribe. But in a world of social media, it can harm us a lot more than it helps. When you constantly see the successes of others, particularly from the top 1% or the top 1% of the 1%, it creates a distorted frame of reference for what you should be achieving. That's the first part. The second comes from when you should achieve it. From these successes you're seeing, along with the beliefs you've built up over time, you develop arbitrary timelines that you believe you should have met. And it's that combination of lofty goals and unrealistic timeframes that creates discomfort and the feeling that you're not doing as well as you should be. But the problem isn't you. It's that the path to getting what you want takes longer than most people let on, something I eventually came to realize. After walking away from Life at Lean in 2020, I spent 3 more years trying consulting, contracting, and even getting a job for a very brief period, but nothing brought me the success or the fulfillment I was looking for. And at this point, we're now getting to about 8 years of an underlying feeling of failure and inadequacy. And I'm not going to lie, as someone that wants to help others achieve freedom doing work they love, it's difficult to admit just how long it took me, but it's the truth. So what did I do next? Well, in that 3 years of working on other projects, along with some life stuff happening, I started to consider what was most important to me, and I realized I missed the work I used to do and decided to come back to Life at Lean. This time with far fewer expectations of metrics and timelines. Fast forward a little over 12 months going all in with that mindset while making some slight changes to my approach, and my channel hit 100,000 subscribers and the business went from near zero, being dormant for 3 years, to bringing in over $100,000. But again, that wasn't really achieved in 12 months, but from what I learned and how I was shaped by the previous 10 years. So, am I saying that you just have to stop caring about goals and trying to achieve them and everything will work out? Of course not. This isn't for those that just want to sit around, play victim and hope that everything comes to them. This is for those that are really trying but feel like they're behind and that they haven't achieved what they want yet. So if you're sitting at that point and you're scrolling social media and spending too much time looking at your analytics only to feel bad about your progress, I'd suggest 4 things. The first is to redefine success. While you can still have big goals, consider thinking outside of typical metrics for success like money or followers. For example, for me, when I came back to my business, it was the realization that I was doing meaningful work that was impacting people now, independently of my income, or that I'd put myself in a position to be around my family and to see my kids growing up. What else defines success for you outside of typical big goals? And if you still focus on big goals, consider ditching the timelines altogether. I know it's cliche, but take the joy from the process and the work itself and accept that it will take as long as it takes. Now, this is going to sound random, but to quote the legendary Wesley Snipes, who I just watched in US Marshals the other night, by the way, which is why he's on my mind, and how great were 90s action movies, by the way. Anyway, he said, "Don't let the internet rush you. No one is posting their failures." And this is especially helpful for me as I start a new journey with this channel and business, where at the time of recording, I'm at 9 subscribers and not many views. But that's okay because I know it'll get there eventually and I'm very much enjoying the process. Another thing to consider is if your goals and desires are really yours. René Girard's mimetic desire theory says that we inherit our desires from those around us, or in this case, the ones we see on social media. Really consider if those big, lofty goals are really what you want. If they are, great. If not, take this as another opportunity to redefine what success actually means to you. Next is to celebrate the small wins. As you move forward, take stock of all the little wins you accumulate as you go, and make sure you're regularly looking back to see how far you've come. I'm sure my early years would have felt a lot more bearable if I just realized what progress I was actually making outside of the big financial ones I was aiming for. The progress you make isn't always obvious, and if all you're ever looking at is the gulf between where you are and where you want to be, things are going to get pretty miserable. Also consider the benefits of delayed success. You've accepted it's going to take time, but go one step further and consider how this long journey might actually help you. And I know, that sounds crazy. Surely achieving something quicker is only going to be better. But how will the struggle shape you? How much more grateful will you be when you finally get there? How could you share your long journey to help others on a similar difficult path? Remember that it's through the struggle for achievement that we grow as human beings and become better people, not from the stuff that you get at the other end of it. And finally, please just keep going. Keep learning, creating, experimenting, and being okay with being bad. Reset your expectations, reduce your opportunities for comparison, and find people on a similar journey to connect with, whatever it takes to carry on. Keep doing the thing long enough while trying to learn and course correct as you go, and you cannot lose. But if you're looking for someone to stand in your corner on this journey, I'm on a mission to help 100 creators leave their job and create freedom doing work they really love. And if that's a mission that you're on, you can find a link to apply and work with me down below. Now, we've talked a lot about comparison and how it can make you feel behind. And one of the biggest hidden sources of this feeling comes from the very place we go to learn: YouTube tutorials. To understand why, check out this video here where I detail how tutorial videos could be hurting your progress. Outside of that, thank you so much for joining me for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.